Hey guys, so I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and talk about the sugar diet. You may have seen this diet advertised recently. It seems to be quite popular at the minute, and I just want to give you a few of my takes. Before I start this video, I'm going to preface it with a few things, okay? So, first and foremost, I am not a doctor. I am somebody who's been in the fitness industry for 20 years. I've followed a lot of diets. I do a lot of research, and when I do research, I don't just go, right, what is popular at the minute and what are the influencers doing? I look at the scientific studies, I look at the research papers, I actually read and understand them and know how to process them. But I also look at the anecdotal evidence. I look at what results people are getting from types of training or types of diets in this situation. And the other thing I want to preface is with what I'm about to go through, I'm not telling you what is the best diet. I'm not telling you this is the future, this is the way it's going to be, this is going to be the cure for getting fat loss off you the best way possible. All I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to share what I've seen, what I've understood, what I've seen in terms of results from other people. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, but more importantly, the results I've got from it so far. Okay. So I started seeing a lot about this about 2-3 weeks ago, people talking about the sugar diet. First and foremost, I think the name is stupid. Rather than sugar diet, it should just be called the high carb diet. Because the moment people hear the word sugar diet, they're thinking of you sitting there with a bag of sugar, just eating that, or just living off of sweets and soda. And that isn't the case. Although you can incorporate those and it'd be fine, that's not the premise of the diet. So essentially, what is it? High carb, moderately low protein, very low fat. It is predominantly used to shred body fat off of you whilst keeping your energy levels high so you can still function. So throughout the day, you're having basically the idea is to have non-processed carbohydrates. So basically fruits, and you can vegetables, you can have like honey, and that's really what you want to stick to throughout the day. Yes, you have the flexibility to use like table sugar, cane sugar, different types of sugars you can add to stuff if you need to, but primarily throughout the day you want to be living off of fruits, fruit juices, juices made from actual fruits or smoothies made from actual fruits. Like I say, you can add honey, and then in the evening you need lean protein, so chicken or turkey, ideally breast meat. You can have 1 or 2% fat mince, but sort of use that sparingly, or like white fish. And the idea is with your protein intake, it wants to be low. So when we're saying low, we're talking 0.5 gram per pound in body weight, or 1 gram per kilo in body weight. And why would you follow this diet? So there's a few things. Firstly, when your body is on a very high carbohydrate diet, and this is the bit I need you to understand, it's carbohydrates in the absence of fats and proteins. So you're just consuming carbs. You're not adding in any fats. You're not adding any proteins. When your body has an abundance of pure carbohydrate, it increases something called FGF21. And this hormone essentially ramps up your metabolism. It essentially gives your body the signal that we're getting fuel. It's fast acting fuel and it's pumping out quickly. And what a lot of people are finding is that it's increasing their activity in the day because they're not tired, they're not sluggish, they've got this extra energy. So people are generally increasing what's called your NEAT, your non-exercise activated thermogenesis. More importantly, it's very hard to overeat fruit and vegetables, right? They're high volume, low density. So with other diets, like if you're going for more of like a balanced diet and you're trying to eat in a calorie deficit, most people struggle because the food isn't much volume. So come the evening, they're hungry, that's when the cravings kick in, and then they're struggling to stick to their diet, they're losing energy, so they can't keep their activity levels up. Something that I want you to look up is something called G-Flux. And essentially, it's in a process where you eat more, you get more active. The more active you are, the more calories you can consume. The more calories you consume, the more calories you can burn. Because the most common mistake people make when they go on a diet is, if that's their baseline, they drop their calories down, but then they increase their activity, making the deficit bigger, which causes problems. So by having this diet, your energy levels are up. You're satiated a lot, which means you're full, so you're not starving. You're not then craving more food throughout the day. And you're getting enough protein to maintain muscle mass whilst your body focuses on the key goal of stripping body fat. And then once you're at the level of body fat that you're happy with, there's 2 stages of introduction to the diet. So the first stage is we still keep it high carb, medium to low protein, low fat, but we can add starchy carbs in. So that's when you're going to start having things like rice, bread, pasta, potatoes, things like that. And then you can start increasing your protein intake and try and bring it up closer to like 1.5 grams per kilogram, even up to like bodybuilder levels, which is 2 grams per kilogram. And that way you can look at adding more lean tissue back on. Now, what it is worth noting is when you start dropping body fat, it is very, very difficult to hold on to lean muscle mass because the nature of it, you need to be in a calorie deficit, right? And the reason we want to keep a base protein is to keep our muscle mass ideally as where it is as much as possible whilst we focus on the goal of stripping body fat. The idea once you get to the body fat level you're at is we change to some starchy carbs and a little bit more protein so that we can maintain the body fat level and add the lean tissue back on top. That's the premises of the diet. Hopefully that makes sense. Why would you choose this diet method over other methods? So this diet is coming under attack by like people that do keto and people that do carnivore. So the first thing I want to say is 90% of people that think they're on keto are not on keto at all. Keto is kind of the mirror image of this high carb or sugar diet, okay? Keto's high fat, moderately low protein and very low carbohydrate. Again, they follow the same basis. You should be having 1 gram per kilo body weight at the most if you're on a keto diet. What most people actually do is a form of carnivore diet, which is normally high protein, medium fat, low carb. And that works to help initially lose weight because generally speaking, you put yourself into a calorie deficit and you then increase what's called ketosis in the body. And ketosis is your body's choice of using fats as a fuel system. And when you're in a calorie deficit, body fat is just stored fat. It's fuel for your body to tap into and use. Now, something that is not overly spoken about is that although keto and especially carnivore, these higher protein, medium fat, low carb diets, although yes, you will initially get a lot of fat loss, you get to a stall point. And the reason you get to a stall point is because of the next thing I'm going to get you to research, and it's called gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis is the process of where your body can take excess protein and turn it into carbs. It turns it into sugar because all carbohydrates are sugar, essentially. They're just different chains of sugar. And when you're consuming excess protein, it doesn't mean that your body's going to convert it into muscle mass. You know, if you worked out that you needed, say, 220 grams of protein a day, eating 320 grams of protein a day doesn't mean you're going to get extra muscle mass. Your body's going to go, right, I've got extra fuel here that I'm not using, I'll convert it into carbohydrates. And what they actually find is people that stick to prolonged periods of carnivore and sometimes keto, they actually start getting insulin resistant because their body is creating sugars. It will do it itself. What they're finding with people on a high carb diet, and this is old, this is not new, this is something that's been around for a very long time. If you go on a very high carb, very low protein, very low fat diet, although logically you'd think that's going to make me diabetic because I'm having all this sugar, it's actually been shown to lower blood glucose levels and actually improve your insulin insensitivity. So it reduces your resistance and increases your sensitivity to insulin because your body gets used to going, right, it's coming in, I'm using it, it's getting out. It's coming in, I'm using it, it's getting out. Because there isn't anything else in there to clog it up. Having fats and carbs together, that's what causes the issues. Now, I've been seeing this for quite a while. There's quite a few influencers now that are talking about this. People like Mark Bell that are going, right, this is the diet I'm using. These are the results that I'm getting. And it's interesting because not only are they saying that they're getting great energy, they're dropping body fat, training's going well because, hey, my muscles are full of glycogen, I'm getting a great pump in the gym, I've got the energy to train hard, which is increasing my calorie expenditure, my performance is going up in the gym, I'm not craving all this food, I'm going to bed satisfied, I'm getting good sleep. In the comment sections on all these videos and these posts, 9 out of 10 of them are all people going, yep, same experience. I'm dropping body fat. I'm actually dropping my blood glucose, my fasting blood glucose in the morning. They're seeing excellent results. And I've seen enough of it to go, okay, I'm going to try it. Why not? I'm going to give it 2 weeks. And if it works, I'll continue. If it doesn't, I'll switch to a more balanced diet and change it. You know, I competed in a strongman comp last month, well, over a month ago now. And in the process of getting ready for that comp, because it was open weight, I just went, screw this, I'm just going to eat a lot. I went really high protein. I went less strict on my diet, and I've ended up gaining a decent amount of body fat. And I want to get it off as quick as possible, but I want to do it in a way where I can still train, because I am still training for future competitions. I'm still trying to train to improve my performance. So I wanted to try and find something where I can drop body fat at a decent rate, but keep my performance up in the gym. And that's what this high carb diet promotes, okay? Now, I did a body scan on Friday morning, and we've got a body composition scanner that you put your details in, you stand on, and it gives you your read back, and it gives you your total weight, your water weight, your muscle mass, your lean mass, and then your fat mass. So I did the scan, and I'll put the results up here. So you can see on there where it shows you all the numbers. So the top, so as you're looking at it, the top left-hand side is the water mass. You want to go across to the center, that's my muscle mass. And then the bottom left is my fat mass, and then the bottom right is the total weight of everything. And as you can see, 28.8 kilos of body fat. It's disgusting. It's not acceptable. So Saturday and Sunday, I sort of eased into this diet. What I mean by that is I followed the diet throughout the day. Saturday evening, I didn't have lean protein. I used what was in the fridge. Sunday, I had my carbs for breakfast, and then we went for a Sunday roast at lunchtime. So I did have some fats in it. And then the rest of the day, I didn't have anything. However, for the last 2 and a bit days, I've now followed it strictly. So how I've been doing it is I normally get up about 5 o'clock in the morning. By about 7:30, 8, I'm having a litre of fruit juice. I then normally train around 11. I then get home about 12:30. At 12:30, I'm having a giant bowl of fruit. Normally, I'm having 2 apples, 2 bananas, half a punnet of grapes, and then I'll pick 2 other sauces. So like today, I had strawberries and mango. The day before, I had watermelon and a whole punnet of grapes, so I just had more grapes. You get the idea. In the afternoon, I'm either having 2 or 3 spoonfuls of jam or honey, or I'm having like another fruit juice. And then dinner at night, I'm having 3 chicken breasts and a beef isolate shake, which brings me to about between 100 and 105 grams of protein. And at night, if I'm still hungry, I'm then having a few more bits of fruit. So I might have an apple, or like a handful of grapes, or a handful of strawberries, something like that. And this morning, I did another body composition scan. Exactly the same setup as how I did it on Friday. Wake up in the morning, go to the toilet, get to work, jump on the scales. I wore similar clothing as well, so there couldn't be any discrepancies that way in terms of weight. And this is the results I got this morning. For those of you that are eagle-eyed, I'll leave it there for a second. My water mass was exactly the same as Friday. My lean muscle was exactly the same as Friday. So I've not gained any muscle, but I've also not lost any either. However, if you look at the number at the bottom left-hand corner, my fat mass, it's down by 1.8 kilos. So I'm down 4 pounds of body fat, technically speaking, in 3 days. What's also great about that is my energy levels have been great. I trained Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday, and I hit PBs in every one of those sessions. So it hasn't affected my performance. I'm eating till I'm full. I'm not getting to my evening meal, and after I finish it, I'm starving. I'm going, right, I want to eat the crisps. I want to eat some biscuits. I want to eat some chocolate. And more importantly, I don't miss them either. I don't miss them because I'm having all this fruit. So far, for me, this diet is working. And I will continue for it for the 2 weeks. And I'm 100% accepting that the fat loss will slow down. But for me to lose 2 kilos of body fat, lose no body mass, muscle mass whatsoever, have energy and hit PBs, that's ticking all the boxes. I think one of the big misconceptions that people are seeing, it's called the sugar diet, is they think that you're sitting around eating cakes, crisps, chocolate because you're allowed all these sugar and carbs, but you just simply can't, because it has to be carbohydrates in the absence of fats and proteins. So I can't eat cake, I can't eat crisps, I can't eat chocolate, I can't eat biscuits. As much as I'd like to, I can't. What I can add is I can add normal fizzy drinks. So I can have normal Coke if I wanted, or Pepsi, or whatever, Tango, Fanta. I can include sweets if I wanted to. But so far I haven't needed to. I haven't had that urge. The great thing about this diet, if you stick to it for a while, when you do then have your cheat meal or an off-plan meal or a meal of whatever you want, however you want to call it, it doesn't mess with your metabolism because your metabolism is ramped up. You know, with most people that try and lose body fat, they go into a calorie deficit and they put themselves into a high level of restriction. That doesn't boost your metabolism. It just puts you in a state of going, right, well, my output far exceeds my input. So I've got to burn fat, I've got to burn fuel. And like I said, what you tend to do is burn fat and muscle. On average, you'll lose, for every 2 to 3 pounds of fat you lose, you'll lose half a pound to a pound of muscle. I've lost 4 pounds of fat and lost 0 muscle. So it's already ahead of that. But then what happens when you're on a normal deficit diet and then you eat like an off meal plan, your body soaks it up, but then it sort of causes a jitter for the next 2 days, potentially. Whereas with this diet, the goal of it is to boost your metabolism. So when you then have that one cheat meal a week, your body just processes and gets rid of it ASAP. It doesn't then interfere. As long as you go straight back to the sugar diet the next day, problem solved. So again, I just want to preface what I started at the beginning with. I'm not saying this is the now future of diet. This is what you want to be doing. I'm not saying carnivore diet doesn't work. I'm not saying the keto diet doesn't work. I'm not saying a balanced diet doesn't work. What I'm saying is this is a different approach to fat loss. And it's one that seems to, not only evidentially, but anecdotally from people that are doing it, it works. It fits into people's lifestyles. People aren't starving themselves. People are full of energy. They're eating a ton of food. Then they're not feeling weak and fragile, and they're getting results. So I'm trying it, and so far I'm happy with the results. Will that change? I don't know. Find out. And that's why I'm going to stick to this. All I encourage you to do is find something that works for you, because carnivore might work for one person and not work for the other. Keto might work for one person and not the other. Vegan might work for one person and not work for the other. But ultimately, it's about finding what works for you and sticking to it. So that's my dump for now. If you have any further questions, drop them in the comments below. If you want to ask me anything, go for it. If you want to give your experience or your views, if you think it's stupid, by all means, comment below. But if you're going to comment below saying it's stupid, make sure you've got evidence to back that up. Don't just say it's stupid because you're one of these ketards or, you know, you're one of these carnivore hardcore people that go, this is the only way to eat, any other diet method is stupid. Make sure you understand that this is a high clean carbohydrate diet where you're removing fats and keeping protein low to help your body focus on burning body fat. The carbohydrates help you keep the muscle mass. And then once you get to a body fat level you're happy with, you can then rechange the macro split slightly to then achieve what you want, whether you want to maintain or whether you want to add some muscle back on. Just remember, if you are one of these people that is carnivore and keto and you're going to slam it because it's removing a food group, you're a little bit hypocritical, because that's exactly what you're focusing on, okay? Hope you've enjoyed that information, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.